Have you ever wondered why some people effortlessly attract the exact kind of friends, partners, or opportunities they dream of, while others keep running into heartbreak, betrayal, or disappointment? Why does it feel like life sometimes brings you the wrong people over and over again? Before I share the secrets that can help you attract the specific people you desire into your life, I want you to do two things. First, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, because I promise you, what I'm about to share could completely change your love life and relationships. And second, watch this video all the way to the end, because each secret builds on the other. Miss one, and you might miss the key that finally shifts everything for you. Now let's start with a story. There was a man named David. For years, he kept falling into the same cycle. Every person he dated seemed charming at first, but soon the relationship turned into fights, distance, or indifference. He couldn't understand why this kept happening. One night, after another breakup, a friend told him, "David, you don't attract what you want. You attract who you are." At first, that sounded harsh, but over time, David realized it was the truth. And this is where our journey begins, because attracting the right people isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about alignment. Today, I'm going to walk you through the secrets to attracting specific people into your life, whether that's a loving partner, supportive friends, or even mentors who can transform your future. Secret number one, clarity is magnetic. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever fallen for someone only to realize, after months or even years, that they weren't at all what you truly wanted? Maybe they looked perfect in the beginning, the way they smiled, the way they made you feel butterflies, but later you found yourself thinking, how did I end up here? Why am I giving my heart to someone who doesn't really see me? It happens more often than we admit. And here's why. When we're unclear about what we want, we settle for whatever shows up. I'll share a story that might feel a lot like yours. There was a woman named Sarah. She always wanted love, but she never really asked herself what kind of love she was searching for. So every time someone gave her attention, she thought, maybe this is it. She dated people who looked good on the outside but lacked depth. She gave her heart to men who were charming but not committed. And every time it ended, she was left wondering, why do I keep attracting the wrong ones? One night, after a painful breakup, Sarah sat alone with her journal. For the first time, she wrote down exactly what she wanted, not in vague words like nice or funny, but in detail. She wrote, someone who respects me, someone who makes me laugh when I'm sad, someone who values family, someone who believes in growth, someone whose love feels like peace, not chaos. It was in that moment she realized she'd been vague with the universe, and the universe had been vague with her. Now, I want to pause and ask you, if I handed you a notebook right now and asked you to describe the partner you dream of, could you do it? Could you write beyond the surface, past looks and charm, into the soul of who you want beside you? Because here's the truth. Clarity creates attraction. Think about it like this. When you walk into a restaurant and the waiter asks, "What do you want?" and you say, "I don't know, maybe food, maybe something nice," what do you think you'll get? Probably something random that doesn't satisfy you. But when you say, "I want grilled chicken," with a side of vegetables and a glass of water, suddenly, what you asked for comes straight to you. Love works the same way. Life listens when you're specific. Sarah's story didn't end with the journal. Within a year, she met someone who reflected nearly everything she had written down. Was it magic? No, it was focus. Clarity changed her choices. It changed who she gave her time to. It changed how she carried herself. And the universe responded. So I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Picture the person you dream of. Someone who holds your hand when life gets hard. Someone who loves your flaws. Someone whose presence feels like home. Can you see them? Can you describe them? The clearer you are, the closer they are. Because remember this, your clarity is the lighthouse that guides the right people through the storm straight to you. Secret number two, the energy you carry. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt drawn to someone without them even saying a word? Maybe it was the way they smiled, the calmness in their eyes, or just the energy they radiated. And at the same time, have you ever met someone who hadn't even opened their mouth yet, but you already felt heavy, uncomfortable, like something inside you whispered, "Stay away"? That's not coincidence. That's energy. And whether you realize it or not, The energy you carry is silently attracting or repelling the people who step into your life. Let me tell you about David again. Remember him from earlier? The man who kept falling into the same unhealthy patterns. What he didn't realize back then was that his own energy was part of the problem. He wanted love, but inside he carried bitterness from past heartbreaks. He wanted joy, but he walked around with sadness in his eyes. He wanted loyalty, but his energy screamed distrust. Have you ever done that? Wanted something beautiful, but carried the opposite inside of you? Wanted someone who would love you endlessly, but deep down, you didn't even fully love yourself? This is why the energy you carry matters more than words. People don't just listen to what you say, they feel what you're made of. Let me share an example you'll relate to. Imagine you're on a date. The person sitting across from you is polite, but their energy feels distracted, like their mind is elsewhere. Do you lean in, or do you feel distance? Now imagine that same date with someone whose presence feels alive. Someone who looks at you with genuine interest. Someone whose smile makes you feel safe. Don't you feel instantly connected? That's the silent power of energy. When David finally realized this, he decided to shift his inner world. He started practicing gratitude every morning, writing down 3 things he was thankful for. He began exercising not just to look good, but to feel strong. He smiled more, not because life was perfect, but because he chose to focus on what was right instead of what was wrong. Slowly, people began responding differently. Friends said he seemed lighter. Strangers smiled back at him, and soon the women he attracted reflected the joy and confidence he was finally carrying within. And I want you to pause here. What energy are you carrying right now? If someone met you today, what would they feel? Joy or sadness? Confidence or doubt? Peace or chaos? Because whether you realize it or not, your energy is your introduction before you even say hello. If you want to attract someone loving, be love. If you want someone joyful, carry joy. If you want loyalty, embody loyalty. Because the world doesn't respond to what you wish for, it responds to the energy you live in. So remember this, your energy is your silent invitation to the people you dream of. Make sure it's saying what your heart truly desires. Secret number 3, the power of boundaries. Let me ask you something deep. Have you ever stayed in a relationship longer than you should have, just because you were afraid of being alone? Have you ever let someone cross your limits, hoping that one day they would change, even though deep down you knew they wouldn't? If you're nodding your head right now, you already know how painful it feels. And here's the truth. What you tolerate is what you attract. I'll tell you a story that may feel a little too familiar. There was a young woman named Emily. She was kind, caring, and gave her whole heart to the people she loved. But she had one problem. She didn't know how to set boundaries. When her boyfriend ignored her calls, she forgave him. When he dismissed her feelings, she brushed it off. When he kept choosing his own comfort over her happiness, she stayed silent. Over time, her silence became permission. He believed he could treat her that way, and she believed she had no choice but to accept it. Have you ever done that? Have you ever allowed someone to keep taking from you while you kept shrinking? Convincing yourself, maybe this is just love? But one day, Emily reached her breaking point. She looked at herself in the mirror after another night of crying and whispered, "Why am I teaching him that I don't matter?" That question changed everything. Boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They don't keep love out. They keep disrespect out. They don't push the right people away. They protect the space for the right people to enter. Think of it like this. If you owned a beautiful garden, would you let anyone walk in and trample the flowers? No. You'd create a fence not to keep the beauty hidden, but to protect it. Your heart works the same way. When Emily finally set boundaries, saying no when she needed to, walking away when she wasn't valued, something powerful happened. Yes, some people left. But guess what? The ones who stayed, the ones who came after, were people who respected her, cherished her, and loved her for who she truly was. And I want you to reflect on this. How many times have you lowered your standards because you didn't want to lose someone? How many times have you said yes when your soul was screaming no? The truth is, when you allow someone to repeatedly cross your boundaries, you're teaching them how to treat you. But when you stand firm, when you show that you value yourself, you attract people who value you too. So here's the secret. Don't be afraid of losing people by setting boundaries. Be more afraid of losing yourself by not having them. Because the right people will never be pushed away by your boundaries. They will be drawn closer. knowing they've found someone who knows their worth. Remember this, boundaries don't keep love out. They invite the right kind of love in. Secret number 4, alignment over chase. Let me ask you something. Have you ever chased after someone so hard, only to feel them slip further and further away? The more you texted, the less they replied. The more you tried to prove your worth, the less they seemed to value you. And in the end, you were left drained, wondering, why didn't my effort win them over? If you've been there, you know how painful that chase feels. But here's the truth. Love isn't about chasing, it's about alignment. I'll share a story. A man named Daniel once fell deeply for a woman who never really wanted him. She liked the attention, but she didn't want the commitment. Still, Daniel kept chasing, buying gifts, sending long messages, showing up whenever she called. But no matter what he did, she kept her distance. One night, his friend told him something that stayed with him forever. If you're constantly running after someone, it means they're running away. Stop chasing and start aligning. Think about that for a moment. Have you ever noticed how the more desperate you are for love, the harder it becomes to find? That's because desperation repels while alignment attracts. Now, what does alignment mean? Imagine tuning into a radio. If you want to listen to jazz, you don't run through the streets chasing the music. You simply adjust your dial until you're on the right frequency. The same goes for relationships. If you want someone kind, be kind. If you want someone ambitious, live with ambition. If you want honesty, embody honesty. Because here's the secret. People are drawn to what feels familiar. If your energy, actions, and values align with the type of person you want, they will naturally feel connected to you, without you having to chase. Let me bring it closer to you. Think back to the people who hurt you in the past. Wasn't it true that you often ignored the misalignment because you were too busy running after them? You thought, if I just try harder, they'll love me. But love that needs to be chased is never real love, it's an illusion. Daniel eventually stopped chasing. Instead, he started focusing on himself, his goals, his passions, his growth. And something amazing happened. He began meeting women who matched his energy. He no longer had to prove himself. He simply attracted those who resonated with who he had become. And I want you to ask yourself right now, are you chasing or are you aligning? Because chasing leaves you empty, but alignment fills your life with people who feel like home. So stop running after those who don't see your worth. Instead, step into alignment with the love, respect, and energy you desire. When you do, the right person won't need to be convinced, they'll just recognize you. Remember this, the right love doesn't need to be chased, it arrives when you become aligned with it. Secret number 5, the mirror effect. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever caught yourself saying, why do I keep attracting the same kind of people? Maybe every relationship feels like a repeat of the last one. Different faces, different names, but the same heartbreak, the same betrayal, the same lessons. If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. And here's the hidden truth. Life has a way of reflecting back to us what we most need to learn. This is the mirror effect. Let me tell you a story that might sound familiar. There was a woman named Clara. Every relationship she entered started the same way. Charming dates, sweet words, promises of forever. But after a while, the mask always fell. She found herself with men who were selfish, dismissive, and sometimes even cruel. After her 3rd heartbreak in a row, Clara sat crying on her bed and whispered, why do I always end up with men like this? What's wrong with me? And here's the thing, nothing was wrong with her, but life was holding up a mirror. These men reflected back her hidden wounds. Deep down, Clara never truly believed she deserved better. She accepted breadcrumbs because she thought that was all she was worthy of. And so the mirror gave her partners who proved that belief. Now pause for a moment and think, have you ever noticed a pattern in your own love life? Maybe you keep meeting people who lie, or people who don't commit, or people who take you for granted. That's not an accident. It's the mirror of your own unhealed beliefs. The people who come into your life are like teachers. The wrong ones show you what wounds you still carry. The right ones show you how much you've grown. When Clara realized this, she stopped asking, why are they like this? And started asking, what is this teaching me about me? That shift changed everything. Instead of blaming, she began healing. She worked on her self-worth, learned to set boundaries, and started believing she deserved real love. And then something beautiful happened. The mirror changed. She no longer attracted men who reflected her insecurities. Instead, she began meeting people who mirrored her strength, her joy, her confidence. The reflection transformed because she had transformed. And I want to bring this back to you. Look at your love life right now. The people around you, are they showing you your healed self or your hurting self? Are they reflecting your joy or your pain? Because here's the secret, the mirror never lies. If you don't like what you're attracting, don't smash the mirror, change the reflection. Heal what's inside and the outside will shift on its own. Remember this, life will keep sending you the same type of person until you finally learn the lesson. Once you do, the cycle ends, and the love you've been waiting for finally arrives. Secret number 6, patience and timing. Patience and timing, two things we often underestimate when it comes to relationships and life itself. Many times when someone doesn't value you, your first instinct is to prove your worth. You want them to notice what they're missing, to see your loyalty, your love, your sacrifices. But here's the truth. Forcing recognition never works. Real appreciation takes time, and patience is the bridge that carries you there. Think about your own love story. Maybe you gave your all to someone, messages in the middle of the night just to check on them, small surprises just to see them smile, endless forgiveness even when they didn't deserve it. Yet they didn't value you, and in that moment you felt like your love was wasted. But was it really wasted? Or was it simply not the right time for them to understand? Here's the thing. Life has a way of revealing truth slowly. Patience isn't just waiting. It's waiting with strength, with dignity. When you step back and give time the power to work, something amazing happens. The person who ignored you begins to notice the silence. The one who thought you'd always be available starts to realize you're not. The absence you create becomes louder than your presence ever was. Timing is everything. Imagine watering a seed. You don't see the tree right away, but you trust the process. In the same way, when you walk away with patience, you're planting a seed of realization in the other person's heart. They may not notice it today, maybe not even next week, but one day when they're alone, when life tests them, they will remember you. They'll remember the patience you had, the love you showed, the moments you stood by them, and regret will hit them harder than any words you could have ever spoken. But patience isn't just about waiting for them to regret. It's about giving yourself the time to heal. You see, timing also works in your favor. The more distance you create, the clearer you see their true colors. You begin to realize that your worth was never tied to how they treated you. Patience allows you to rebuild yourself, to grow stronger, and to attract someone who will value you instantly, without hesitation. So don't rush the process. Don't beg for their attention. Don't try to prove what should have been obvious. Instead, be patient. Let time reveal the truth. Because the beautiful thing about patience and timing is this. While they're busy realizing your value too late, you'll already be living a life where you no longer need their validation. That's the true victory. Waiting not for them, but for yourself to rise. Secret number 7, authenticity above all. At the end of the day, nothing is more powerful, more attractive, and more liberating than being authentic. Think about it. How many times in your life did you bend yourself just to keep someone? You lowered your voice when you wanted to scream. You smiled when you wanted to cry. You agreed when every part of you wanted to say no. And you did it for one reason. Love. You thought if you were easier, quieter, more flexible, they would value you more. But here's the truth. Pretending only delays the heartbreak. Because the person who doesn't value the real you will never truly love you. Now let's make this personal. Remember that moment in your relationship when you caught yourself holding back? Maybe you wanted to tell them how much it hurt when they ignored your texts, but you kept silent because you didn't want to seem needy. Or maybe you had dreams, passions, hobbies, but you pushed them aside to fit into their world. At first it felt like sacrifice, but over time, didn't it feel like you were losing pieces of yourself? Authenticity above all means loving without masks. It means showing up fully with your flaws, your quirks, your vulnerabilities. Because real love doesn't demand that you shrink. It celebrates when you expand. And here's the secret power in authenticity. When you stop pretending, you shift the balance of energy. Suddenly, the other person is faced with the truth. They see you as you are, strong, imperfect human. And that either forces them to respect you, or it exposes that they never truly valued you in the first place. Both outcomes set you free. Think about it this way. When you're authentic, you give the other person a choice, either love you for who you are or lose you. And isn't that the kind of love you deserve? Someone who chooses the real you, not the version you created to please them. Yes, it's scary. Authenticity requires courage. because it comes with the risk of rejection. But ask yourself this, isn't it better to be rejected for being real than to be loved for a mask you can't wear forever? And here's the most beautiful part. When you embrace authenticity, regret shifts. The one who lost you doesn't just regret losing someone who cared. They regret losing someone rare, someone genuine, someone who had the courage to be real in a world full of pretenders. So never hide your authenticity to keep someone. Because if they can't love you as you are, their love was never worth having. And when you finally stand in your truth, you'll realize you don't need everyone to value you. You just need the right person to see you and say, "This is exactly who I've been waiting for." That is the power of authenticity above all. Secret number 8, giving without expectations. Let me ask you something. Have you ever given your heart, your time, your energy, everything you had to someone, and deep down, hoped they would give you the same in return? Maybe you cooked for them, wrote them long messages, stayed up late listening to their problems, or even sacrificed your own happiness just to see them smile. And in the back of your mind there was this quiet voice whispering, "One day they'll realize what I'm worth. One day they'll give me back the same love." But what happened? More often than not, that day never came. Instead, you were left drained, disappointed, and questioning your own worth. This is where the secret of giving without expectations comes in. You see, real giving is never about keeping score. It's not about saying, "I gave you this, now you owe me that." Because love, true love, isn't a transaction. It's not a business deal where you measure returns. It's a flow of energy. When you give from a place of pure heart, without needing anything back, you create a kind of freedom. You're no longer tied to whether the other person responds the way you want them to. Now let me share a story with you. Imagine someone who buys flowers for their partner every week. At first it's exciting. The partner smiles, says thank you, maybe even hugs them tighter. But after a while, the flowers become routine. No excitement, no gratitude, just expectation. The giver starts to think, do they even notice anymore? Do they even care? And slowly, what began as a joyful act of love becomes a silent demand for appreciation. But here's the shift. What if those flowers were given with no expectation? What if the giver bought them simply because it brought them joy to give? Suddenly, the power returns to the giver. They are no longer hurt if the reaction isn't big. They are free because their love isn't conditional. Now, I'm not saying you should let people take advantage of you. Giving without expectations doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. It doesn't mean giving endlessly to someone who only takes. It means that when you choose to give, you do it because it aligns with your heart, not because you're bargaining for love. Here's the beauty. You will know who truly values you by how they respond when you give without expecting. The right person will notice, appreciate, and give back, not because you asked, but because they feel the same energy and want to return it. The wrong person? They'll take and take until your silence speaks louder than your love. And that's when you'll see the truth. So remember this, give freely but wisely. Give with love but not with conditions. Because the one who deserves your heart will never make you beg for appreciation. They will meet your giving with their own. And together you'll create a love that isn't built on keeping score, it's built on genuine connection. That's the power of giving without expectations. Secret number 9, walking away creates space. Sometimes the most powerful move you'll ever make in love isn't holding on, it's walking away. I know it sounds painful, almost impossible, especially when your heart is still attached to someone. But here's the truth. Walking away doesn't always mean the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of something far more beautiful. Your healing, your peace, and yes, even their regret. Think about it. When you were always available, always picking up the phone, always showing up no matter how they treated you, what happened? They got comfortable. They assumed you'd always be there like the air they breathe. And when something feels too available, too guaranteed, people stop valuing it. Now imagine the moment you choose to walk away. The moment you say, I can't keep pouring into someone who leaves me empty. At first, it feels like you're breaking yourself apart. Your nights are quiet, your phone no longer buzzing with their name, and your heart aches with memories. But slowly, almost silently, you begin to notice something. By walking away, you've created space. Space for them to realize what life feels like without your presence. Space for them to notice the silence where your laughter used to be. Space for them to feel the weight of your absence and ask themselves, did I take their love for granted? And more importantly, you've created space for yourself. Space to breathe again. Space to reconnect with your passions, your friends, your happiness. Space to remember who you were before you lost yourself trying to be everything for them. Here's the paradox. When you step back, it often speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Silence becomes a mirror. It forces the other person to see themselves, to see what they lost, and to finally feel the regret that words never could spark. Let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how someone only seems to reach out when you stop chasing them? How suddenly, when your energy shifts, they sense it and they start to wonder, are they really moving on? Did I just lose the best thing I ever had? That's the power of walking away. It doesn't just protect your heart, it changes the dynamic completely. But here's the beauty. Whether they come back or not, you win. If they realize your worth and fight for you, it's because they've seen the truth in your absence. And if they don't, then you've cleared the space for someone better, someone who won't need to lose you to recognize your value. So remember this, walking away isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the moment you stop begging for love and start demanding it silently, through your actions. It's the way you tell the universe, I deserve more. And when you do that, life responds. People respond. Because sometimes the most attractive thing you can ever do is walk away and let the empty space you leave behind tell the story your words never could. Secret number 10, becoming what you seek. Let me ask you something. What is it you're really looking for in love? Is it loyalty, respect, consistency, passion? Someone who looks at you like you're their whole world? We all have this secret list in our hearts of the qualities we crave in another person. But here's the truth very few people realize. You attract not what you want, but what you are. If you seek loyalty, you must first be loyal to yourself. If you crave respect, you must carry yourself with self-respect. If you want passion, you must light that fire inside your own life first. Because here's the secret. Love is a mirror. It reflects back to us what we put out into the world. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how the most confident people seem to naturally attract attention? It's not because they're the most beautiful or the richest. It's because they embody the very energy they want around them. They don't chase love, they become love. Now let's make this real for you. Remember that time you were at your best, when you were happy, focused on your goals, maybe working out, chasing your dreams, laughing with friends? Do you remember how magnetic you felt during that phase? People were drawn to you without you even trying. That's not an accident. That's alignment. You were becoming what you were seeking. And the universe responded by sending people into your life who resonated with that version of you. On the flip side, think about those times when you were lonely, desperate for attention, constantly checking your phone, overthinking every little thing. Didn't you notice how during those phases you seemed to attract the wrong people? The ones who mirrored your insecurity, your restlessness, your emptiness? This is why becoming what you seek is so powerful. Because the truth is, you cannot attract a love you are not ready to embody yourself. If you want someone consistent, be consistent. If you want someone who chooses you, learn to choose yourself every day. If you want someone who respects you, don't compromise your boundaries for anyone. And here's the beautiful part. When you shift your focus from chasing to becoming, the entire dynamic changes. You stop asking, why don't they value me? And start asking, am I living as the person who deserves the kind of love I want? That question alone changes everything, because the day you become what you seek is the day you stop begging for love and start attracting it naturally. The wrong ones will fall away, because they can't match your energy anymore. And the right one? They won't just come into your life, they'll stay. Not because you chased them, but because your very presence matches what their soul was looking for too. So if you want deep, lasting love, stop searching endlessly out there, and start building it in here. Become the loyalty, the respect, the passion, the consistency you're searching for. And when you do, love won't be something you run after. It will be something that finds you, naturally, powerfully, and beautifully. That's the secret. You don't just attract what you seek, you attract what you become. So now I want you to ask yourself, are you clear about the kind of people you want in your life? Are you aligning with their energy? Are you setting boundaries, staying authentic and patient with timing? Remember, this isn't about changing who you are, it's about becoming more of who you truly are. And when you do, the right people will recognize you instantly, as if they've been searching for you all along. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.